Good morning, my brother. KK man. Yeah. There was you go. You are welcome.
It's coming from His Excellency, the former President of the Federal Republic, FR, who today is our distinguished guest of honor. And we have been told that this occasion will keep a message that two governors are held up somewhere due to traffic. Thank you very much.
This is not Monday. I cannot wear it. It's a Monday. I force them again. About what's there.
It was everything about me.
Yes, the form. You're welcome, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
As we said, we're not yet stepping into protocols, but there are some distinguished personalities we must say welcome to also welcome the mother of most women here. And I take pleasure in welcoming me because one day I could be a woman. You may never know. But the former Minister of Women Affairs and Social Development, Iyom Josephine, and Nene MNI is here also. Very life member of BOT, PDP. To welcome the Enugu State Ambassador Lawrence Agobozo, OON. Welcome, sir. Thank you for coming. Igwe, we welcome you. Thank you for coming.
And also the President General of Ohanese Ndibo, Chief.
I think she got her name better than I would have got it. That's why I carefully asked her to do it. Chief Gary Igariwe. We are right? The distinguished
Chief Mrs. Tina Ekweme Adike. Ake Uchonwa
is here. Right Honorable Ikechukwu Ezugo. Leader, you're welcome. Thank you very much. I want to thank you for coming as well. Okay, sir. Dr. Anikwe Ferdinand, if you raise your hand, I'll want to know where you are.
Deputy Speaker.
Honorable Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, Governor of Enugu State. Cameramen are many, but there is no doubt I am picking out the Governor of Ebonyi State, His Excellency Engineer Dave Umahi. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be able to run the protocols later, but I have seen the man who is always and other dignitaries who will have time to salute our is our distinguished guest of honor, the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo GCFR, the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who today is our special guest of honor, His Excellency Chief. The Chairman of the occasion, ladies and gentlemen, is a man of words and actions. The former Secretary General of the Commonwealth, Chief, and he knows no bounds than to recognize the Deputy Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, distinguished Senator Ike Ekweremadu, that the governors are here, and it makes me happy also to announce to you, let nobody kill me, but I want to announce the best governor. I'm also happy to welcome the Governor of Ebonyi State for coming. I'm very delighted to see you. I'm also happy to welcome His Excellency Chief Willie Obiano, who is today represented by the Deputy, His Excellency Dr. Nkem Okeke. Her Excellency Cecilia Ezilo is here. Mom, you're welcome. You can complete the rest. Chief Ifeanyi Chimobolo, you're welcome, sir. Yeah. The Southeast Economic and Security Summit is also the chairman. Thank you for coming. Onwa, you're welcome, sir. I would like specific. No problem, I understand. Ladies and gentlemen, the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo is Chief Gary Igariwe. Welcome, sir. Coming in, Senator Nkechi Nwogu once again, we welcome you. Thank you very much for being here.
He's the Chairman, Southeast Economic and Security Summit.
If we give him a round of applause, he may be walking stronger and not committed to the ideas of his.
My great pleasure, on behalf of the conveners of the 2016 Maiden Southeast Economic and Security Summit, to welcome and sincerely thank you, former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, for graciously being here today. We deeply appreciate the fact that you are here as guests of honor at the summit. I would also like to salute our state governors and all the rest of you distinguished ladies and gentlemen for finding time to participate at this summit. But I would want specially to thank our host, the Governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Chief Ifeanyi Ugwuanyi, for hosting and providing the facilities for this summit. The Southeast Economic and Security Summit is a non-partisan and a non-governmental initiative. Implicit in its name is its raison d'etre, which is a commitment to the economic and security well-being of the people of the southeast zone of Nigeria. The SEESS recognizes that although every part of this country is experiencing one challenge or the other at the moment, the southeast zone is more grievously affected in some areas, such as the condition of the federal roads in the region. I admit that all parts of Nigeria are affected by maladies, but the maladies affecting this part of Nigeria, the southeast zone, is in many respects more grievous. And the result of this affliction is the pervasive perception and sense of neglect and non-inclusion by the federal government in this zone. I would not wish to preempt the presentations of the various states in the zone, because I believe that each state has its own specific area of interest. But suffice it for me to say that it is around the problems of security and infrastructural deficiencies that many other problems of the zone revolve. For this reason, if security and infrastructural deficiencies are attended to, many of the other challenges, manufacturing, agriculture and food production, healthcare, tourism, foreign direct investment, and a host of others, will certainly be more easily tackled. In this age of growing globalization, commercial enterprises in many parts of the world are demonstrating the inherent benefits of economy of scale by expanding their reach through mergers and acquisitions. coordination of planning and execution of development projects among the 5 states of the Southeast Zone is therefore both desirable and necessary. And I urge our 5 state governors to devote greater attention to taking up this challenge. While the SEESS initiative may seem to be primarily devoted to the improvement of the laws of the Southeast Zone, it is in fact vicariously committed to the welfare of the whole country and all its constituent zones. This is because the common destiny and interdependence of all the parts of this federation means that what happens in one part will inevitably rub off on the others for good or ill.
I'm profound pleasure on behalf of my brother governors of the Southeast states. I most warmly welcome the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR. And I wish to acknowledge his leadership and very pivotal role in the conception, mobilization, and organization of this summit. Please let's clap for me. I welcome the Excellencies, and especially the Deputy Senate President, even though he's from Enugu State, but he's also welcome to this function, my brother governors of the Southeast states. And I thank them for their commitment, cooperation, and enthusiastic participation. We pay our respects also to the members of the Federal Executive Council, the National Assembly members here, members of the State Houses of Assembly, security chiefs, traditional rulers, elders and major stakeholders of the Southeast regions, captains of industry, members of the clergy, members of the academia, non-government organizations, other eminent personalities, and indeed everyone who has come from far and near to be part of this summit. It is indeed my honor as the governor of Enugu State to host this maiden edition of the Southeast Economic and Security Summit, and we're grateful that all of us could find time to attend. Your presence here is a clear demonstration of your avid interest in the enthronement of peace and security and in promoting economic growth and development in the Southeast and the country as a whole. Security and economic development are two concepts that are not generally considered to be two sides of the same coin. Indeed, it goes without saying that there can be no sustained economic development in any given society without security. Conversely, and as experience keep teaching us, economic backwardness and poverty also bring and fuel insecurity. Unfortunately, these are the scenarios confronting us today in different parts of the country, including the Southeast. This summit is thought intended to offer the government and all stakeholders in the Southeast region the opportunity to identify and critically examine the peculiar security and economic challenges of the Southeast with a view to finding lasting solutions to them and ensuring that events in both sectors complement rather than impede or oppose one another in the development trajectory of the region and the nation at large. We believe that given the socio-economic interconnectivity and interdependence of all parts of the country, it will be more than apt to say that the successful and timely resolution of security and economic challenges of the Southeast, a region so richly endowed with abundant natural resources, human capital, and copious industrial and commercial potentials, will impact tremendously and positively on the rest of the country. I wish to thank in a very special way, Mr. President, President Muhammad Buhari, for the support he has given to us in this direction. Just a few weeks ago, we performed the groundbreaking ceremony of the Empower Free Trade Zone Enugu, the first of its kind in the Southeast, which Your Excellency has graciously granted full operational license and certificate. Again, on the 23rd of August 2016, history was made when the first international cargo flight landed at Akani Ibiam International Airport in Enugu, while permission was for the first time granted to an indigenous carrier, Peace Airlines, to operate direct services from Akani Ibiam International Airport in Enugu to China and other locations across the globe. Needless to say, that these milestones are already making a wonderful and more desired impact on the economic outlook of the Southeast region and its neighbors. As governors, we also remain grateful for the financial support that the President has extended to us via the bailout funds, the London and Paris Club grant. But we are, however, constrained by the severity of the situation we find ourselves to draw our attention to some of the very critical and peculiar challenges confronting the zone and solicit compassionate and urgent assistance in addressing them. Few months before I was sworn in as governor, I used to know governors for SS Tuju. But suddenly when we found ourselves in this position, the name bailout is now the order of the day. However, in this regard, Your Excellencies, we wish to re-emphasize our plea for the urgent rehabilitation of federal routes in the Southeast, more especially those connecting the capital cities of the region, and all of which are in deplorable conditions. The urgent intervention in this matter will help reduce the huge losses of lives and fortunes that occur daily on these roads, and also help to enhance security operations and economic activities in the region. As you all are aware, state governments in this region have been investing their own funds in rehabilitating some federal roads in their respective jurisdictions in order to save the people from undue hardship. Enugu State, for example, spent over 22 billion on such roads in the state. Again, we humbly request that urgent intervention will ensure that state governments are properly refunded the amounts they respectively spend on rehabilitating the roads. This not only accords with best practices, but will significantly boost the capacity of states to tackle some of their most pressing challenges, while we confidently await improvement in the national economy. Your Excellencies, the whole of Southeast is prone to severe economic challenges, especially soil erosion. I understand that the hometown of the former Vice President is under threat. These threats are not only destroying critical infrastructure such as roads and buildings, they are also damaging our farmlands and hampering agricultural development, endangering our water resources, encouraging desertifications, and generally imposing severe hardship and life-threatening conditions on the people. Gully sites in the border areas are also literally redrawing the borders and potentially poised to cause avoidable disputes in the future. The states in this region are financially handicapped to meet the cost of combating this menace, and even where the World Bank, through the Nigerian Erosion and Watershed Management Project, is assisting, the states have been unable to provide a counterpart component to enable the states' project management unit draw from the available pool of funds. We therefore solicit necessary financial support in order to surmount these challenges. Furthermore, we seek the federal government kind intervention, ensure the payment of which debts owed to states in this region by some federal agencies and establishments located in them. For example, in Enugu State, 3 federal establishments alone, to wit, the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, the University of Nigeria Teaching Hospital, and the Federal College of Education in Hamilton, are owing the state government a combined total of 12.49 billion in past returns. These institutions have continued to owe these debts, even as the state government still provide infrastructural and other ancillary supports to them. Regarding aviation and transportation, we humbly seek the federal government assistance in ensuring that Akani Ibiam International Airport meets with internationally accepted standards, especially through the construction of new runways, completion of the international terminal, and building of facilities that will accommodate heavier aircraft that are normally used for international and intercontinental travels. We have already requested an upgrade of facilities at Sam Mbakwe Airport of Owerri, Imo State, which is the only other airport in the southeast. Furthermore, we seek the intervention of federal government in the development of seaports and jetties to enhance maritime activities in the region. In addition, there is need to revive the railway network linking the southeast states so as to improve transportation and boost economic activities within the region and beyond. In the area of security, the states in the southeast are currently facing severe challenges in the form of frequent clashes between farmers and herdsmen. This ugly situation is expected to be forcing farmers to abandon their farmlands, leading to poor agricultural output and raising much anxieties across the states. To address this situation, the state governments are now compelled to spend scarce resources to support displaced farmers and also ensure securities in the states. We would like the federal government, in collaboration with state governments in the region, to put in place a concrete program that will bring it to an end. Your Excellencies, the second Niger Bridge is also crucial to the economic and security needs of the region, and we sincerely appreciate its speedy completion. We also recall the need to refine the coal mines in Enugu and utilize it to generate electricity. There's no doubt that this will significantly serve the energy needs of the country and also create job opportunities for thousands of Nigerians. It is important to note that the execution and completion of that fossil project are in tandem with the current policies of the present federal administration that are aimed at diversifying the national economy, attracting foreign investment, providing essential services, and creating jobs and employment opportunities for our country's teeming population of youth. On this note, Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish once again to thank you all immensely for your kind presence at this summit and for your patient audience. I thank the members of the Southeast Economic and Security Summit Group, supporting financial institutions, donor organizations, experts in diverse fields, and indeed everyone who had a hand in the successful organization of this summit. I thank you all and wish us a fruitful and successful summit. While I wish all of us Merry Christmas in advance, may God bless the Southeastern states and may God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
The Governor of Abia State, His Excellency, Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu. Your Excellency.
Say that in as much as we are pressed very, very hard on all sides as people of the Southeast, there is certainly nothing we can do about how people react to us, but I'm sure there is something we can do about how we respond to the impulses that reach us. This is my way of saying that when I did a study of what we need or what we require as a people to move forward under the circumstances as we have found ourselves, I discovered that so many things seem to be common among the people of the Southeast, irrespective of the geographical boundaries created by political delineations and states. Therefore, what is good for Enugu and what is good for Ebonyi perhaps will also fit in many ways than one what we require in Imo, Abia, and Anambra. And these our needs are common. I was excited when we were given access to take off from Enugu State to other parts of the world, especially China. Why it is China alone is what is unclear to me. Beyond that, I think we also need access to the sea, because more than 80% of those who import one item or the other in this country are from Southeast Nigeria. And this is my way of saying to the rest of us in this country that whatever you hand over to people of the Southeast has a way of going around Nigeria. If you want something to get into Sambisa, give it to an Igbo man, and he'll find himself there doing one business or the other. So if the wealth of Nigeria needs to go round, if the knowledge we share needs to go round, if our expertise and the things we hold dear to ourselves needs to go round, even values and virtues, let the Igbo man be given the opportunity to distribute it across Nigeria, either as Mr. President or such other positions that can determine such. And I assure you that in a few days, every Nigerian will realize that this country is really one. Beyond this, in Abia, we have set to run on 5 pillars of development, which of course is dictated by those things which we think we do better than other parts of Nigeria. One of them is trade and commerce, because trade and commerce is natural among peoples, and it is widely reported in literature, even the book written by our late leader, Emeka Odumegwu, captioned Emeka, and he said that the Nigerians from Southeast extraction are indeed better traders than the Lebanese on the world scale. And that was written by Frederick Forsyth. So I share that view that trade and commerce comes naturally, because it is difficult to do trade and commerce if you're unable to move goods and services from one location to the other. That is why our emphasis is on the roads. But it doesn't matter how much effort you make doing roads within Abia. If I cannot access Akwa Ibom and I can't access rivers, and I can't get to Enugu or Owerri, which are federal responsibilities, then I am just developing within my compound without the capacity to make my trade outside my zone. Therefore, I share the views of my brothers and others who believe that time has come for us to take a second look seriously as a matter of emergency, national emergency, on the roads within the Southeast. And I want to say, at the risk of probably standing alone in this argument, that I have taken time to look at why the roads in the Southeast fell repeatedly.
I can still recall that it was the one that called the Southeast very Summit, Economic and Security Summit. It wasn't once, and he followed up with letters to us. He was actually driving us. And of course, nobody can disobey him. And so today, that drive has become a reality through the efforts of the organizers, Professor Bart, and your wonderful team, including the governor of Enugu State. We are excited that we are here, we are talking as a people. We are excited with the topic that is before us. I want to assure, just like my brothers, governors have said, that the governors of Southeast will support in every dimension and measure that our leaders want us to ensure the progress of this program. I believe strongly that the Economic and Security Summit must give birth to economic and security integration. I believe because it can't stand on its own. We also needed other summits. Virtually, there is nothing we can achieve as a people without a political platform. So we'll be needing political summit and integration. We'll be needing cultural summit and integration. And we also be needing a love summit and integration. We need love among ourselves. Let let me say that one of the key areas the promoters and organizers of this very important program must help us as governors to look into is our boundary problems amongst ourselves. There are many developments that should have been taking places in those locations where we have issues with ourselves, and I think that there is a need to resolve them. I think no governor is willing to continue with such crisis. As I was just coming here, I learned of a theft in one of the locations with our neighbors. We're killing ourselves because of land. I think we should resolve that, and it will help us to move forward as a people. Our economic summit and security summit, to my understanding, must be of two parts. And for this to work, the promoters are already in place. That's the organizers. And so these promoters and organizers will be looking at the individual states in Southeast, where we are endowed with natural resources in those states, and to give ideas to bring people that can assist us in the development of those God-given natural resources. Like in Enugu State, we have coal and limestone. In Ebonyi State, you have abundance of limestone and other mineral resources and agric land. In Abia, you have commerce, oil and gas, and so on and so forth. So we need the promoters. For example, the promoters should be able to get us some consultants. During the war, the salt in my area was what sustained the entire East Central State. Today, this salt is still undeveloped. And I believe strongly that even in water treatment within this salt, and so many other byproducts of salt distillation. So we need states to be assisted in the development of these natural resources. And we also need state-to-state economic integration. What can Abia and Ebonyi do together, in common as a state? What can they jointly do together? This is very important. These organizers and promoters should be able to let us know what can Abia and Enugu do together, because they have common boundary. And then the entire Southeast economic integration and security integration. Very important. What and what can all the states of Southeast do together to move our place forward? In Ebonyi State, we are so badly challenged because of years of neglect before Ebonyi State was created. Past leaders have done their best, but because of lean resources that has been coming to us from the creation of the state, it was not possible to develop the infrastructure that will drive our mineral resources and the agricultural program. And so successive past administration did their best, and we are building on what they did. But we need massive infrastructure to drive our mineral resources. The roads, virtually all the federal roads within the state of Ebonyi, are in a very bad shape.
On behalf of my governor, Chief Willie Obiano, I welcome you all to this Economic and Security Summit for the Southeast. Let me first apologize for His Excellency's unavoidable absence, attending to other government functions. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, 2 days ago I was in Abuja representing the governor. The Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs organized an induction course for the ambassadors, the nominated ambassadors, ambassadors designate. And the governor was supposed to represent the Southeast. to discuss, to present a paper on the economic potentials of the Southeast states. Of course, the discussion in the paper I presented was more to talk about each state and its possibilities. And this is what the ambassador will now carry to the respective countries they'll be serving as ambassadors. But I think what my governor wanted to focus on was we must understand the process of development, especially in a third world country. If you don't have security of lives of property, you can't have any form of development. And I think the other governors have made that, point very common. You must have security of lives and property. The next thing is first, then decide what is it that you have in a comparative advantage. What does your state have to sell that you can do? Either you're selling it or you're producing it that will be cheaper for you to produce than you can be able to afford to sell. Each state can develop on its own. Every state here in the Southeast can develop on its own, but it will take a longer time for them to do that. We must come together as a group, as a regional force, if we're going to develop at a faster rate. Every state has endowed resources. Enugu, we know, has coal, all sorts of mineral resources. Anambra has arable land for agriculture. Ebonyi has the same. Abia is known for its industry, especially shoe manufacturing. They need to all sit down as governors. That's what my principal is saying. Let us all come together. If you sit down as a group and you talk to investors, they will listen because they know you now have the capacity to handle huge investments. If you talk about road infrastructure within the states, to link up the states, it's very important. It's key to movement of goods and services. If you talk about railroad infrastructure, these things require enormous amount of capital. And states can't do it alone. They need to come together as a group to be able to forge ahead. In Anambra, the governor has done his best. He's provided security for investments, and we've had investments coming to the state. But all this is happening in a period of recession, where funds are no longer readily available for states to tap into. But what can you do? You have to continue. But I believe, and the governor believes so much in the fact that they need to sit down as a group and think as one body. Everything that happens in the Southeast, we're all interconnected. I believe is we have a common language, and that's what brings us together. And we're a very resourceful group of people. But we need to harness it. We need to work together as a group and be able to move forward. We can't always be depending on what we go to Abuja to collect. It doesn't work. We must think like Lagos State, who can fund its entire society without any amount coming from the federal government. States need to do that. But we can only do that when we come together as a group and move ahead and be able to force investments to areas where they have comparative advantage.
Your Excellency, Chief Willie Obiano, ably represented by the Deputy Governor, Dr. Nkem Okeke, salute you. I also want to salute members of the Executive Council of the various states that accompanied their various governors to this summit. And salute also my colleagues in the organizing committee. We first have to apologize to everyone that may not have been appropriately placed in the protocol. This is our first. We promise you that next time, Economic and Summit, we thank His Excellency, the former President, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, who as a national leader concerned with the good, justice and fairness for all parts of this country, facilitated the convocation of this summit, which is not pivoted on politics, but rather on economic and security priorities of the Southeast zone of Nigeria. Your Excellency, we also want to thank you for the sacrifices you made to come to this summit. We know how the travel challenges were, but we made every effort to be here. And we thank you very much, sir. We want to especially thank the governor of Enugu and his government for undertaking to sponsor some vital requirements of this summit, an entire package that was prepared for the what was to also include the president's visit. We thank you very much for all you have done to see that this place is what it is. This is what a central government that is representing the center of Southeast is about. And we thank you for what you've done. Your Excellency, the Southeast Economic and Security Summit Group appreciates the sincere efforts that you're making to turn the economy around, stem the tide of insecurity, and fight against corruption. However, it is believed that for Nigeria to overcome some of the major challenges, the peculiar and most feeding problems of the various component parts of the country should be identified and addressed. This is because such problems, if not coherently dealt with, are likely to frustrate all levels of government, developmental goals, objectives, and strategies. It is in the light of this that the Southeast Economic and Security Summit Group, having consulted widely and brainstormed through various sessions, have articulated how the Southeast can come out of decades of being hewers of wood and drawers of water, also known as Ikeketorie in Igbo parlance, in the Nigerian nation. Going down memory lane, it is easy to enumerate various traumatic experiences Ndi Igbo have had in various parts of Nigeria and even within our homeland. In legitimate search for livelihood, Igbo targeted for exploitation, intimidation, and sometimes outright destruction. In spite of these unfriendly situations they face, some of them remain with the hope that their countrymen in their new homes will become more accommodating, especially very poor conditions of federal roads and poor electricity supply, insecurity, and untapped natural and human resources. The 5 state governments in the Southeast are doing much they can to alleviate the suffering of our people with the little resources at their disposal. However, the near absence of federal presence in industrial and infrastructural development in the Southeast have created a huge yawning gap in economic and security stability of the area and its people. Mr. President, we make haste to add that your government is not solely responsible for our long-standing woes. However, it is often said that the best time to have planted a tree was 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. All we are saying is that the story of change, of decades of woeful neglect of the Southeast could start today with your administration. Specifically speaking, we want to highlight a few key areas that touch the souls of the Southeasterners of Nigeria, starting with the post-Nigerian Civil War promised 3 R's. During the Nigerian Civil War, Ndi Igbo died in large numbers, and those who survived suffered tremendously before, during, and after the war. It is in realization of this that the federal government of Yakubu Gowon at the end of the war promised reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction to the Igbos. The promised 3 R's died with the applause that greeted the pronouncement. The surviving Igbos who returned to various Nigerian cities they lived and did business or worked before the war were even denied access to their landed properties as they were dubbed abandoned properties. The Igbos were therefore abandoned to their own fate and suffered untold hardship, frustration, and heart failures. Perhaps more Igbos died out of frustration and poverty after the war than during the war. Compare the post-conflict loss of the Igbos with those of the South-South and the Northeast. The injustices meted out to the Igbos by subsequent Nigerian governments become glaringly apparent. We are all aware of the administrative frameworks put in place by the federal government of President Yar'Adua and his successor, and the enormous resources provided in various forms of development for people of the South-South following the amnesty arrangements. This is right and just. Furthermore, though some homegrown terrorists are still waging war against the Nigerian nation in the Northeast, the present federal government is already embarking on rehabilitation and massive reconstruction efforts in that axis. We do not quarrel with any of these developments. However, it is often said that what is good for the goose is good for the gander, especially because we all claim to be the same nationality and perceive equal rights. The people of the Southeast consider the treatments meted to the Igbos before, during, and after the Civil War as injustice. We are requesting that these injustices be addressed because there are still yawning developmental gaps arising from years of neglect of the Southeast right from the end of the Nigerian Civil War till date, especially in the area of infrastructure. In terms of infrastructure deficit, the Southeast Economic and Security Summit is intended to produce a generic model of regional development in which the people of the region are also very active players and which is devoid of politics and ethnic coloration. Such a plan would address the infrastructural needs of the Southeast and thus facilitate and enhance economic integration of every sub-region in Nigeria. We have a session on infrastructure that they're going to talk about. Dr. Ben Akabweze, the Director General of Budget for the Federation, is here to chair that. Unstable conditions of the federal road. Most of the federal roads in the Southeast are in total state of disrepair. A few, and the governors have talked about this, a few that are fairly usable today were fixed by the state governments out of their meager resources, which the federal government is here to pay back. The governor of Enugu mentioned this. The Onitsha Enugu, the Enugu-Port Harcourt highways are in desperate need of rehabilitation. Some parts of the highways are more or less as marshy as rice farms and completely out of use. These roads are critical to economic and social lives of all the people of old eastern region of Nigeria, and to a large extent the entire nation. In fact, the haulage of goods from the ports of Port Harcourt and Calabar to the north and food stuff, livestock from the north to the old eastern region rely entirely on the Port Harcourt, Enugu, and part of the Enugu-Onitsha highways. We understand from our legislators and ministers that the contracts have been awarded for rehabilitation of both roads. However, cash backing is a different kettle of fish. We are therefore requesting that Your Excellency's government funds these contracts so that they can be well executed by reputable and reliable contractors such as Julius Berger, as roads in other regions of Nigeria. It is only in the southeast parts of Nigeria Enugu International Airport, we are requesting that that the Akanu Ibiam International Airport be fixed in such a way that there's an urgent intervention on the runway and completion of the international terminal building and facilities of the airport. The Owerri Airport was built out of the funds of contributions of people of Imo State. And so we are also requesting that the airport be brought to full realization of the potentials and purpose of the cargo. Commencement of work on the second Niger Bridge. There's a lot of, we've heard about start and of work on the second Niger Bridge, but no activity has been seen there yet. Standard gauge railway line. We are aware of contracts being awarded for standard gauge rail for various parts of the nation, including east-west line that skirted a good chunk of the southeast. But the line that used to go from Port Harcourt through the southeast to the north needs to be standard gauge instead of being kept as narrow gauge. So we need for that to be addressed as well. Concessioning of coal blocks in such a way that the coal blocks include people of the region so that there will be less argument and quarrel as you currently obtain in the south-south, where they feel that some of the concessions did not capture the people of the region. And in this way, that there will be some timeline set for the coal industry to start, because this is an emotional area for people of this region to have the coal industry commence works, and so that we can also have coal-fired power. We are requesting for industrial free zone, particularly in Abia. It was the governor of Abia visited His Excellency the Chief Obasanjo and presented him with some shoes made in Aba. We appreciate very much the fact that the governor has taken on board made in Aba good products. There's a need to have an industrial zone in that area so that all the industries that produce products such as heights and skins, lead products, garment industry can actually operate effectively. So this particular request, it can easily be achieved, and this is aided by the next issue, which the governor of Abia has made, which is a geometric power project coming on stream. And I want to say that Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, the Baba, concessioned that particular area during his time as a way to have achieved a model for power development in Nigeria. It is working, it can be replicated in other parts of the nation. What it is that you have power plants, you have distribution network, you have every aspect of power. So it's a full-fledged utility, and that's what it is. But of course, most of us might have read all the issues that came into being about it, and it's gradually being resolved. So we ask that the federal government had stepped in to try to resolve it, but with the efforts of the governors and the presidency, we believe that this should be fully resolved as quickly as possible. The governor of Abia talked about seaport, deep seaport, so I don't need to emphasize that, because it is a way to ensure that the people of the region that are major traders in this country are able to have access to exportation and importation. They have ecological challenges, which the governor of Enugu talked about. The country home of the former Vice President of Nigeria, Dr. Alex Ekwueme Iheoku, that is currently under severe threat of landslide. It is also evident that in the last few years, Southeast states have experienced devastating floods with attendant huge losses of properties and agricultural yields. So, what we are requesting in this case is that be special attention paid to the Southeast in terms of ecological fund support. Now, insecurity. Since the Nigerian Civil War ended in 1970, the Southeast has been facing severe security challenges. This is because immediately after the war, most Igbo youths who fought the war were faced with extreme threats of poverty and hunger due to unemployment and lack of any forms of livelihood. These were some of the problems the 10 hours were meant to address. These youths therefore resorted to armed robbery, leveraging on their rugged battlefield experiences. The Southeast region was originally their catchment area, but it later spread into the then Bendel states and across the nation. Some years later, the high crime of kidnapping gained entry into the shores of this nation through the Niger Delta militancy activities. This gradually spread across states of Nigeria as money spinner for criminals and the unemployed, which included graduates and undergraduates. The Southeast states were badly affected by this evil, as many cottage industries folded up and relocated to several parts of the country. This worsened unemployment problems and fueled more criminalities within the Southeast states. In a desperate bid to survive, people turned to agriculture in their communities as the only means of livelihood. Buoyed by the federal government policy on diversification of the economy, with particular reference to agriculture, the Igbos were generally satisfied that they were heading in the right direction. In fact, Ebonyi State has been gearing up to become the producer of enough rice to feed the entire nation. Then came another insecurity monster in the name of murderous and destructive cattle herdsmen. Many defenseless women have been attacked in farms, while the farms and crops have been devastated with their livestock, and in many cases cut down many lives in their prime and razed down houses in their numbers. The unprovoked attacks on the sleepy community of Okpabi Nimbo in Ozowa, local government area of Enugu State, on the 25th of April 2016 is a case in point. There are many other communities in the Southeast similarly affected, such as Ataku, Kebugu, Ako community in Iwechichi, Bende local government in Abia, and Arochukwu local government in Abia State. This has compounded our insecurity and economic challenges because people now live in fear of their various communities, and the only present means of livelihood and unemployment for our teeming population at home is on the verge of total collapse as a result of insecurity posed by the aggressive and well-armed invading cattle herdsmen. We request urgent action to end the menace and prevent further deterioration. We are happy to hear from the governors that they are addressing this issue, and there is a committee of this summit headed by some of our generals that are going to look at ways to support the governments of the Southeast and
the federal government, with the cooperation of the federal government, to see that this stops. Your Excellencies, let me just say that what we want to achieve here is to talk about ways for private sector to work in partnership with the state governments, and it's good that all the state governments have talked about collaboration, and by so doing that they will be able to work together to achieve success in the areas of infrastructure such as building gas pipelines, whatever can be done to see that the roads are actually motorable and in good condition, whatever can be done to see that we work on seaport, gas pipelines I've talked about, the rail lines, then agriculture, having sustainable agriculture. And His Excellency, the Ambassador, will talk to us about sustainable development, zero hunger. So we look forward to hearing what he's going to say. But we also have here Reverend Father Nzamujo, the founder of Songhai Farms. He's going to talk about agriculture. We are going to talk about health care tourism. There is a group from the UK and US that have come here to make a presentation on a hospital that is going to be built here in the southeast, and so on. So these are some of the areas we want to look at concrete problems and how to quickly address them. But none of this can be achieved without financing. Dr. Pascal Dozier is leading a group that is going to talk about the financing of projects, how the mechanism for doing this in the region. So with all this, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much.
No more on our side, and I'm going to limit my remarks. But before I do that, let me address one very core purpose of government is the protection of lives and property and welfare of the people. But I believe that whatever is said, unless we restructure our internal security architecture, we'll continue to have problems. And the simple suggestion is that this is time for us to think along the path of a decentralized police. Today, we have challenges of kidnapping, we have challenges of insurgency, we have herdsmen, we also have militancy of Boko Haram. All this can never be resolved by 350 policemen policing 170 million people. It does not happen anywhere in the world. So if we want to secure our borders, secure our people, this is time for us to have state police, local government police, so that every part of Nigeria will be able to have the type of police that is required. On the economy, again, there's no way you can run the type of economy we are running in a federal system and expect to make progress. So the answer to this is restructuring, so that every part of Nigeria will need to develop in accordance with its own potentials, be it economic potentials, be it intellectual potentials, be it the agricultural potentials, and then contribute to the Commonwealth. As long as we have a unified system of economy, it's not going to work. So I believe that as we debate today, we must find a way of ensuring that we use our natural endowments essentially for development of our respective parts of Nigeria in the interest of the country. The other issue that bothers me too is the issue of inclusivity. In a country such as Nigeria, where we have different ethnic groups, people who speak different languages, it is important that every part of Nigeria be included in the governance of this country. Today, as I speak, there is no Igbo man in the commanding heights of our security sector, and so they don't attend security council meetings. The public share of the governance of this country, Igbos are absent. I'm not going to make any request because the president is here, he's not here, and he's not represented. So I'll just speak my mind on matters such as this. So these are things we need to think about, because any part of Nigeria, any part of the world that feels unjustly treated will never be interested in peace. So I believe it is time for us to rethink on how we address the marginalization and the non-inclusiveness of Igbos in the governance of this country. final word is on the issue of rule of law. We must give everybody his due. The Constitution is clear in chapter 4 on numerous fundamental rights that are attributable to every person in Nigeria. And one of them is the issue of liberty. Liberty is something that God gave to us for an inalienable right. So it's something that for you to take away somebody's liberty, it must be in a very extreme circumstance. So if the court says you should be released from detention, government must do everything to respect that. And everybody who is accused of offense must, as a matter of necessity and in good time, have his day in court. And this reminds me of the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu. Whatever is the offense, he must have his day in court. And if because this is released, he should as well be released. So distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I wish you fruitful celebration and I wish you a happy Christmas. Thank you.
To your house. And I said to you, let me fix the road. Just support me and let me fix the road. And you said to me, whatever you can do for yourself, you don't. Where we need other people to do for us or to do with us, to get them to do with us. If I could go to Maiduguri when Boko Haram was raging, and I had to try and reach out to them in the interest of security of this country, I don't think I need to be thanked or eulogized for being part of the initiative to establish or to bring about the summit of the Southeast on economy and security. Because security by itself is not easy. If there is no security in any part of Nigeria, there is no security in Nigeria. But all the people that I have spoken, particularly the governors, I was very impressed by what you have said. And what you are saying is that, look, we have things that we can do if we are given the instrument to do it. But what I want to say to you is part of the instrument is already with you. When I was growing up, one of the things we know, the people of Southeast, or many of the things we know them. Let me recount. Enterprise, entrepreneurship, communal effort and communal spirit. You take one member of the community and you train him, you educate him in the hope that he will come back and influence the development of the community. Spirit of adventure. There is no place you go and there is no people man. There was Papa Okafor in my own village when I was growing up. And my village, if you count the roofs of houses in my village, they are not more than 20. And yet, and there was in fact no motorable road in my village. We all went by foot to the next market. Now, those are things that are there, and nobody are taking that away from the people of South. How can we utilize it? What should we do with it? In the area of economy and security. Your people is not taking care of the economic progress of your people will be treated seriously diminished. So there is this relationship. And what I believe we need to do here is what we have. How can we use it? What we have is the people. The people of Southeast are extremely unique. And that uniqueness of the people of Southeast must be used to advantage. I have had, you say, solidarity, cooperation, working together. And people say, yes, if you want to work fast, work alone. If you want to work for a long distance, work together. We should not work alone. If we have been contemplating working alone, we should stop contemplating working alone. If we have been working alone and we haven't gone far, we should stop working alone and work together and be able to go far. That is the purpose of this summit. Whatever you have as a state, and each of the states of the South has something. You have land, in addition to the people that are unique, that are well educated, that are enterprising, that are entrepreneurial. Yes, your land is limited, but it is very rich, very fertile, both under the soil and on the soil. What are we making of it? What you have, what you have has become so legendary that people are looking for it. People came to me from China, a team that is doing something they call Made in Africa. And they were talking to me about Aba. Governor, I wrote to you. They want to come and develop industrial center in Aba. They have heard about Aba in China. They have heard about Aba from the African Bank, and they were working together. Let me come to agriculture, which is my special interest. The Southeast can be the bread basket of Nigeria and beyond. The Southeast can be the food basket of Nigeria and beyond. The governor of Enugu has been jokingly talking about Ebonyi rice. If you haven't got yours, that's your own. You got, I've got mine. And Governor Ebonyi, thank you. The governor of Abia, I was joking, just like a meeting like this. I said, well, I haven't got my own shoes, so he brought 6 pairs of shoes to me. 6. And one of my children came to my room. He said, Daddy, I want a pair of your shoes. And about 3 of my children wear the same size of shoe with me. I said, take one, anyone you like. He said, Daddy, I don't want the Aba shoe. I said, well, take the non-Aba shoe. So he said, oh, this one is good. And he took it away. It turned out to be the Aba shoe. It turned out to be the Aba shoe, the one he took away. And when I called him later, I said, look, show me the shoe you are taking is Aba shoe. He says, when I got home, I found that it's made in Aba, but I like it. Now these are things what should we do? How should we handle it? Now, let me say this. We have a challenge of youth restiveness, challenge of youth unrest, which must be understandable. Because here are these young people who have education without employment. They have skill without production. They have today, they are not sure of tomorrow. So what do you expect of them? Of course, you should expect some agitation from them. But should we leave them with that agitation on their own? No. There's a saying in my own part of the world that when young people are cutting trees in the forest, elders, because of their experience and their wisdom, they know where it will fall and they take precaution. We cannot leave this children this way. We must take part of the responsibility. And of course, security is the responsibility of all of us. But some are more responsible by virtue either of their appointment or position or what have you. But talking about agriculture, last year, the world leaders met in Washington, in New York, at the end of the Millennium Development Goal. They came up with a sustainable development goal, and they had 17 goals or objectives or targets. Item number 2 is zero hunger. That by the year 2030, there should be no human being on the surface of the earth that will go to bed without a full stomach. Not just a full stomach, but a nutritious full stomach. A dietary, complete dietary. Now, when that was done, World Food Program, WFP, thought that they wanted about 6 countries in the world to work out, review key countries, and Nigeria was one of the countries they chose. So they approached me and said, yes, this is zero hunger, but we want you to lead a zero hunger review for Nigeria. We got in touch with the federal government, and federal government agreed. And we met. When we met, we established 9 subcommittees. Subcommittee on research, on finance, on mobilization of finance, and all that. And we came up with a roadmap that we actually, and we did not say we want to get it done by the year 2030. We want to get it done by the year 2025. We believe we can achieve zero hunger in Nigeria by the year 2025. That is our purpose. And what do we need? Security in the southeast and economy in the southeast are the same, are different faces or different sides of the same coin. But if we know what we have and we understand what we have, if I may refer to the Bible, Moses was holding.
Let's go
back so you can take us.